Secrets of a Sun King. Author's note. As written by the author Emma Carroll. Tutankhamun is a name so famous it's tricky to do it justice. So much has been written about him, so many interpretations made as to who he was and how he met his fate. Even as I type, new theories about possible undiscovered chambers in his tomb are emerging. It's a story that keeps on fascinating us. As a writer of historical fiction, I feel it's important to clarify that only some of what I've included in my story is documented fact. Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered by Howard Carter in late November 1922. Lord Carnarvon, Carter's patron, had agreed to fund one last dig, but died of an infected mosquito bite the following April before most of the tomb's contents were fully documented. His death fueled rumours, of course, which only made the Tutankhamun story more intriguing and alluring. The timing of the tomb's discovery was extremely sensitive. Egypt has become an independent country in early 1922, yet British and American archaeologists and collectors were soon jostling for a claim on Tutankhamun's treasure. Howard Carter, stubborn, clever, determined, was known to be a difficult man. His relationship with the Egyptian authorities was strained, to say the least, and worsened after Lord Carnarvon's death. Much of what is said about Tutankhamun and his tomb depends on whose accounts you read. Over the years, the pharaoh's mummy has been unwrapped, x-rayed, scanned. How exactly he died is still up for debate. Some say it was a chariot crash, others suggest he was murdered in a struggle for power. Evidence showed he had an injury to his head and leg. Very unusually for Egyptian burial rites, his heart had been removed. Tests also found him to have various strains of malaria. This is where the fiction part of my story comes into play. As far as I know, Tutankhamun's missing heart has never been found, nor has an account of his last days as king. For pace, I have condensed down the events of November 1922. My Howard Carter is brash and rather untrustworthy. As far as I know, no children were present in the first opening of the tomb. The time it took to travel across Europe to Luxor is based on accounts from the day and estimations. My fictional narrator, Lil, takes her name from a very real Ella Lily Kay, whose mum bid for her to be a named character in my next book during the Authors for Grenfell charity auction last year. I hope my Lil lives up to her namesake. Emma Carroll, May 2018. Q&A with Emma Carroll. Why did you decide to write a story about ancient Egypt? I've always been fascinated by Egyptology, the rituals, the religions, the way people live their everyday lives. Until Howard Carter unearthed his tomb in 1922, Tutankhamun was considered a relatively minor pharaoh. Yet as the world struggled to recover from World War I, Tutankhamun's story brought much-needed excitement and glamour and captured the public's imagination in unprecedented ways. It was this why people were so interested in the discovery of a long-dead young man that intrigued me most of all. How much research did you do? I read books on Howard Carter, watched documentaries, trawled internet sites. In 1994, when I'd finished uni, I went backpacking through Egypt. Some of the details in the book are taken from my own experiences. I did enough research to create, I hope, a believable world. Things like clothes, food, living conditions, expectations, attitudes. Yet the story always comes first. Many have dubbed you the Queen of Historical Fiction. What is it that draws you to writing historical fiction? I'm a massive fan of reading historical fiction, so that definitely influences what I write. For me, it's the world building, the intriguing little customs, sayings, bits of social history that feel both familiar and strange, which makes it such a great genre to write. I'd imagine it's similar to writing fantasy, only with more corsets and candlelight. Who or what inspired the character of Lil? Lil is named after Ella Lily Kay, whose mum bid on the Authors for Grenfell charity auction for her daughter's name to feature in my next book. The character herself is my own creation. Lil's a girl very much of the era. On one hand, she clings to the past and what she knows, but on the other hand, she's dying to face the new challenges that come her way. How did you decide on the title of the book? Do you usually start with the title, or does it come later on in the process? Originally, the story was called The Lost Boy, which came to me very early in the writing process, as my titles tend to do. But we then realised quite a few other books had this same title, so I came up with the alternative. The story has a feminist message. How important was this to the era? Very. World War I meant women had to step into men's roles, often doing their jobs, managing households, money, etc. By the time the war ended, women had proved themselves as capable of men in all sorts of ways. In 1918, women over 30 years of age with property were able to vote. It was a step in the right direction, yet only accounted for 40% of the female population. If you were young and poor, like Lil and her mom, your voice still wasn't heard. Can you sum up the main themes of the book and how you chose these? Recovery, secrets, putting right past wrongs, friendship, fitting in, having courage to swim against the tide. I wasn't aware of choosing the book's themes. They grew with each draft of the story.